And now for our final panel of the day, Seeing Clearly Online, Social Media and the Future of Digital Trust. As AI changes how content is created, distributed, and detected, the question of trust online becomes more complex and more urgent. This session will explore platform safety tools, content policies, media literacy, creator responsibility, transparency, and AI-enabled detection, while considering how we balance innovation, safety, and freedom of expression. The discussion will be moderated by Omar ElAawar, founder and CEO of Youth Summit. He is joined by Ahmed Abbas, CEO of DigiSay, Mehdi Taher, Head of Public Policy North Africa at Meta, and Moataz, CEO of Cultark. Please welcome Omar and our panelists for the final discussion of the day. With a round of applause, please welcome them to the stage.
Hello everyone, it's really a pleasure to be here with you today. This is a very interesting panel, and I've been joined by very interesting panelists. Ahmed Abbas, CEO of DigiSay, Mehdi Taher, Head of Public Policy at Meta, Moataz, founder of Cultark. As you are well aware, the topic of the panel is seeing clearly online. Nowadays, with AI's growth, many people feel it's harder than ever to know what's real, to differentiate what's real and what's not, and who to trust and who not to trust, and to actually cut through the noise on social media. And that's what we are going to discover in today's panel. I want to start with Ahmed Abbas. Ahmed, you've had a rare vantage point. You've worked very closely with creators, built media businesses, produced films with Hollywood partners. You've sat at the intersection between media and technology, also managed global talents. The first question I wanted to ask you is, most people nowadays see social media as a way to build a personal brand, and you've actually helped turn audiences into real businesses. So my question is, what's the biggest opportunity people are missing because they're thinking like influencers instead of entrepreneurs when it comes to social media?
These are like multiple questions, so yeah. Yeah, so I think, yes, people start thinking they're influencers when they look online, but I think in the last few years, I think people who have successfully built a community are the ones who are able to eventually build a business out of it if that's the objective. Usually people try to venture out from their normal career, their 9-to-5 job, seeing social media as a good opportunity to do so. A lot of what we've seen across the last 15 years in that space is that, believe it or not, it fits with the panel title. It's about seeing clearly online. It's about building trust. So people who manage to build trust, build a brand, potentially solve a problem, are the ones who are able actually to maybe build a business on top of that at the end of the day. Because usually when people are scrolling their feed, believe it or not, they're able to see better online than we think they do. People know what's real, people know what's authentic, people feel and see that if that content is authentic, if it's true, if that person is really connecting with me on a human level. So I think the opportunity is, as much as internet has democratized, access to people, and as much as also now AI has made it easy and cheaper to create content, it's also made it cheaper to maybe create fake content and deceive people. But people actually know when they're seeing something online if there's something they can trust or not, to a great extent, of course.
If you'd allow me to ask, what is trust? Because I believe it's very fragile nowadays, and you can lose it easily. in a second. So how would you define trust nowadays on social media?
I mean, in the context of what we're seeing today in terms of content, it's a new currency. I would say today you can rent attention. That's what I always say. If you buy with advertising, if you buy views, or if you even buy engagement in a way or so, but you cannot really build trust. You know, trust is really earned. And to answer your question, how do you define trust? I think trust is basically being on top of mind in a way, and having people believe that when they're receiving from you a piece of content or a promise or a post, that basically this brand is actually living up to those expectations. John Stewart says it's if your values are basically if you don't stick to your values when they're being tested, they're hobbies, they're not values. And I think people who stick to that build trust.
Absolutely, absolutely. On to you, Mehdi. I know your role at Meta, it sits at the intersection of technology, policy, and society. So I wanted to start by asking you, like, every day we know that billions of people experience the internet through Meta, through Facebook, through Instagram. Where do you believe the responsibility of the platform begins and ends when it comes to shaping what people see online?
That's a very good question. Thank you very much. So 3.5 billion people a day use one of our apps, and that's an immense privilege and an immense responsibility as well, to ensure that when people do use our platforms, they do so safely. I want to pick up on your question on trust. Like, what is trust? I think that can be defined in many ways, and about the responsibility between the platform, the responsibility of the users. And I think trust for us has 4 components. The first of those is authenticity. When I open up my feed in the morning, is the content I'm engaging with real or not real? Regardless if it's AI generated, whether the message is portraying is something that is authentic or not. And the account that I'm engaging with, is it authentic or not? Is it run by a bot or is it run by a human? So I have trust with what I'm seeing, number 1. Number 2, I trust that the platform will keep me safe, that there are rules that govern the platform, that govern the use of Facebook, govern the use of Instagram, WhatsApp, Threads, etc., that keep it a safe environment for all our users. People don't want to see particular content that essentially goes against what we call our community standards, the rules that govern what we do allow or don't allow on our platform. So that's the second component. It's how do we keep our users safe online, the trust and safety element. The third element of trust for us is transparency. Do people have trust in how the platform is operating? Are we transparent about how we take decisions, how we show certain content? They feel that there's a fairness in the platform. I think that's very, very important. And the final bit is user empowerment, and this is the part. So the first 3 that I described were very much on the platform. The first 3 of those pillars were us creating the right environment so that the platform can operate safely, and there is that trust, and people feel like there's a responsibility, rightly so, on the platform to make sure that the content they're engaging with, the accounts that they're engaging with, are correct, proper, follow the rules, etc. The final part, which we still have a huge role to play, but so do schools, so does the government, so does society, is what we call user empowerment. So how do we train people to be able to look critically at a piece of content that they're seeing, that they can use the internet safely, that they don't fall victim to some sort of scam that might take place online? That user education piece is incredibly important, and that's a shared responsibility we all have, the platforms, the individuals, and of course society through education and other mechanisms. Just on that point, it's something I'm particularly proud of. In Africa, Middle East, and Turkey, over 170 million people last year. We reached out over 170 million people last year. That's kids, educators, parents, through our workshops, through our training programs, to support that program of digital literacy. That's a huge number, but we still have a lot more to do.
And if you'd allow me to ask a follow-up question here, you spoke about digital literacy, Do you believe nowadays as well AI literacy is super important as well for those young kids?
100%. I think that throughout the whole day we've heard about the power of AI. And then I smiled at the speech of the Assistant Secretary when he talked about the full stack of AI. And I sort of wanted to look around and say, who knows what a full stack of AI is? The average user doesn't. The average user, for them, it is a window that I engage with. At the most basic level, it's going to be a chatbot. At the most advanced level, it's, as the keynote speech was saying before, it's agents that go out and do work for you. And so AI literacy comes with just, number one, understanding what AI is. So I know this is a bit of a tangent, but understanding what AI is, the capability of AI, and a responsibility that we all have from an economic empowerment perspective to make sure that everybody takes advantage of AI, because it is the transformational technology of our time. So there is, one, giving people access, two, ensuring that they understand how to use it, and three, understanding how they use it critically. Because we've all gone in and asked a chatbot a question, and it's given us a left field answer. Now that might be okay if you're asking whether your local restaurant is open or closed, but that could be much more dangerous if you're asking issues related to health, etc., where the platform might not be capable of providing the right kind of answers. So educating users on normal digital literacy, but I'd argue AI is now within a core component of that, so they're able to engage safely with AI and learn how to use it and take advantage of it and be aware of its limitations as well.
Critical use is very important because I believe many people nowadays, they don't know how to use AI purposefully. They just use it shallowly, but there's a purposeful and critical use, like you mentioned. Thank you. Moataz, you spent years working with brands on navigating the digital world and working as well with big platforms like Google, YouTube, and Meta. The question I have is, brands often feel the pressure to jump on every relevant trend nowadays. In your experience, how do you participate in that culture without the brand losing its identity?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. So I'll tap on 2 points they talked about, which is the importance of a community, like Ahmed was talking about, and what Mehdi was saying about the trust factor. Because usually, most of the brands that are online, up until 2-3 years ago, before all of these CPG brands started coming on, have been legacy brands. So they've been there, the P&Gs, the Unilevers, the Henkels, all of these guys, even the car brands. They've been there for ages. Now, one very small part of a brief they brief agencies on is reasons to believe, the RTBs. Why should me as an agency, while communicating the brand, the campaign idea, be able to get these people activated is because of the reasons to believe. Why do you believe that Kit Kat gives you the mental break that you need during work, for example? What was really interesting when you try to transition that online is they got really tested. Why? Because you can easily and very quickly see, instantly actually, do people really believe you or not? Are you truthful to your brand ethos or not? And you're getting the comments and the feedback straight on. This shifted them from communicating one way, where they were doing that 2010, 2011, 2012, and now we are being pressured as agencies to actually build communities for them, because they found out that riding trends is usually catastrophic, more so than beneficiary to them. Because the users pick up, just like Mehdi was saying, they really want to see honesty. So if you've been a very silent brand, constantly communicating about product, and then all of a sudden you decided to ride the wave of whatever is going on right now, which is totally unrelated to your brand, people pick up on it, and what they do is one of two things. Either don't engage, and they've spent a lot of money on that, or they fire back, and they start actually calling you out for it, which becomes a PR nightmare. So most of the brands that we deal with, and we deal with brands across 5-6 countries, in the past 2 years, they've been pushing us to build communities for them properly, and the KPIs have shifted. So it's no longer vanity metrics. It's more of quality of engaged users, quality of comments that are coming in, how much positive comments are coming versus negative, and what are the top positive comments, etc. And they drill down through the comments themselves to understand what their users are really saying.
And speaking about positive and negative comments, which relates to trust. Managing a brand, how do you control negativity around the brand?
So I'll speak for our agency. Our playbook is usually two things. So put your skeletons out of the wardrobe first. So if you have anything you're trying to hide, you come up and out first before people find out, because internet, everything's there. And the second thing, if you get called out on something, be very truthful. It's the shortest way to actually managing the crisis. Admit if you have done that, communicate very clearly about the issue, and then keep people in the loop of what you're doing to actually navigate through the issue. Because people, most of the time, they want to feel included, and they're not really as judgmental as they come off to be. So if you do that, if you include them in the process, usually it totally calms everyone down, and they understand that you're taking care of it, and they just leave you be till the thing is actually resolved. But if you become silent, or if you ignore them, or if you launch a campaign, a counter campaign, or if you launch a campaign totally irrelevant to what's going on, then they really create issues for you online. And it's very damaging for the sales. We've seen direct correlation between negative campaigning online with on-ground sales versus positive campaigning, or people perceiving the messaging very well and going on and maintaining their sales and their purchase behavior with the brands.
I'd actually like to ask you, Abbas, as well on that same topic, since you have a lot of experience working with global talents, I believe. Like in a world now with AI where almost anything can be faked, and with cancel culture, how do public figures and global talent actually build a trust that lasts? And how do you help those brands or global figures maintain that trust?
So there's multiple things now that have changed in this business. So we've been like monetizing content since 2010, and this got us very early on into the copyrights business. And me and my co-founder built a few tools and opportunities on top of that. We went into content protection, we went into monetization, distribution, and so on. Today, I think creators and talents are more aware of the idea of copyright. And I think with the era of AI and deepfakes now, how can I protect my likeness? How can I monetize my likeness is a question that is popping up. We're seeing already some platforms starting to offer tools for such thing, such as likeness management and protection. To your question, I think people that manage to build a community where content is authentic, where they have a value system that has been developed over a longer period of time, on which the content pillar basis is built and also developed and maintained, are basically the talents that are able to build communities and build a trust that lasts. And at the end of the day, there are creators for the purpose of content creation. They want to basically to be in that space of just content creation, and there are creators that feel strongly about a certain theme, where this theme is comedy or it's health or it's whatever, but they are become an authority in that industry, and the content creation piece or the celebrity status piece of that business is just that, but they have an entire world around that business in itself. So I'm sure there's this very amazing famous chef that does a lot of stuff with chocolate, but he also has a life on Netflix, and he also has a life where he does his own restaurant. So at the end of the day, I think if you become an authority in something, you build that authority across different venues. One of them could be the media venue, and today media happens to be at the intersection of media and technology. But there are a lot of other venues where you can use that authority, use that trust you've built, use that brand you've built, whether to build a business or build a community or basically enjoy what you want to do most.
And another question, I believe you've sat at a very unique place connecting creators or brands with platforms, whether like Meta And there's a lot of value to be captured with creator partnerships with platforms and also brand partnerships with platforms. Can you guide us on how can that value be captured and how can a young creator actually get the attention of a platform like Meta?
So I think platforms, at the end of the day, they work with advertisers mostly, right? Like this entire business, whether it's Meta or Google, as two of the biggest examples, their clients are advertisers, it's clear. So advertisers want, they used to call it eyeballs, now it's maybe attention economy. I mean, this changes every year. But in essence, I think these platforms reward engagement, okay? And the better the quality of that engagement and the more focused that engagement on certain themes is, the better you can basically position yourself for those brands that are basically servicing their ads through that platform. So I would say you have to pick a space, whether that is automotive, whether that is like whether it's like sector driven in terms of product, or it's even just interest or topic driven, like comedy or sports or whatever, and just do that for long enough and qualitatively enough that you build a community, build an audience that believes in what you're offering and that comes back and spends more time and starts seeing you as an authority in that space. And then everybody will want to work with you, whether people like us that are in the intersection between advertisers, platforms, technologies, to help you grow that more, or even the platforms themselves, because at the end of the day, guess what? These platforms are run by people, and those people have KPIs, and part of their KPIs is to keep content creators to come those platforms to put content so people come and see that content on their platform. So I think it's a matter of focus and authenticity and building that community and keep nurturing that relationship. But again, we have Meta on the panel, so I'm sure Mehdi can add a few things to that.
I would add one thing which is linked to the earlier questions and how you work with creators. I think that's absolutely right. Whether it's Meta, whether it's Google, TikTok, others, we benefit greatly from content that's created and posted on the platform. That is a key component of what we do. But the trust and safety element, or the digital trust, is not just for who's consuming the content, it's also for who's producing it. It's trust that your content will be protected, it's trust that your content won't be abused, etc. So I think that content, that trust, is sort of the envelope that wraps around the entire platform, wraps around the user, wraps around the content creator, wraps around the advertisers, etc. It's a critically important component of it.
And speaking about trust, because sometimes people often blame the algorithm for misinformation, for addictive content. So is the bigger challenge the algorithm or the way we've actually learned to consume information online?
So I think one of the things that's critically important is when we talked about user education, is to understand, is for the users to understand that there are transparency tools available to them to understand why they're seeing certain content. So when somebody says, "Why am I seeing this?" Well, we've got 3 buttons on a post that you can click, and it literally says, "Why am I seeing this?" And you click on it, and it gives you reasons. You engage with this kind of content, you're in this age demographic, etc. But we've gone one step further. If you open up your Instagram now and go on your Reels, same with Facebook, there's 3 lines and 3 dots at the top right-hand corner, if I'm not mistaken. And you can click on it, and you can change your algorithm. All right? So today I woke up, and I suddenly decided it's the summer, I want to be healthy. So I can click on those 3 lines and say, I want to consume health content, gym content, etc. So I can change my algorithm. So yes, the algorithm responds first and foremost to the content that you engage with. Obviously, you want to see certain things that you're interested in. If you're not interested in football, then the worst experience for you would be just football content all day long. But equally, you also have some agency over shaping the kind of content that you see. Now, all of our content, like I said before, all of our content has to, all the content on our platform has to adhere to our community standards, the rules that govern the platform. And so if something violates that, then it gets removed. And if things, maybe for example, AI generated, then they need to be labeled. so that there is greater transparency, there's greater user awareness of the content that they're engaging with. So if you have an AI-generated content, there'll be an AI label on that, and somebody knows that that's not real. On misinformation, on that particular point, I think it's a very, very important issue. It's an issue that comes on time and again. We work across the world with what we call third-party fact checkers. Meta is not the arbiter of truth. We're not here as a company to say that this is wrong and this is right. There are organizations, such as trusted news organizations, that are much more capable of determining that. So we have something called the third-party fact-checking program across the world, where we work with certified media organizations, such as AFP in the Middle East, where they can go in and they can say whether a piece of content is false or true. And that means it's done by a third-party agency and not with us. In the US, we started to roll out a slightly different approach, which is community notes, similar to what people might have seen on X, where the community goes on a particular post and will give some additional context to it. So the algorithm isn't the problem per se. It feeds you what you engage with. There is transparency to see why you're seeing what you're seeing, and there's also agency to shape what you want to see as well.
You mentioned AI and misinformation, and I believe there's a very thin line between both. How do you differentiate as a platform?
So it depends on the content.
Because I mean, like, in order to make the question more clear, how does what's Meta stand on AI content? Is AI content considered, because some people consider AI content misinformation because it's AI. Others consider AI content should be posted normally.
So AI content is very broad.
Exactly.
So I'll give you an example. We're on stage right now, and one of us is looking this way, and the rest of us are looking towards the people. If you use AI to make everybody point in the same direction, is that misinformation? Or is that using, in all times, Photoshop to correct an image?
That's a very good question.
So there's levels to AI. There's one where you might be using AI to touch up a photo to make it look better, or there might be AI that's being used to generate harmful content. Now, the fact that it's AI doesn't matter as much as the content itself, and that's why I say we have the community standards. Whether it's generated through AI or posted organically without any AI, if it violates our community standards, then it will get removed. So the type of content that AI is being involved in matters. And the level of AI also matters. And that's why if there is AI on there, if there is a use of AI, let's take, for example, ads that users may see. Any ad that has been touched up by AI or generated by AI, according to our policies, needs to have an AI label on there. Same with social and political ads. For organic content, we give people an opt-in, so they can label if the AI is content, if it is AI content, if it is AI-generated content. And equally, we have detection tools. Now, working with the industry, working with Google and others, where we have an industry approach to be able to have invisible watermarking, so looking at the metadata to determine whether something is AI or not. We've gone a step further. We now have something called Meta Seal. So if you produce AI content on Meta's platforms, some people try and be cheeky and will take a screenshot of their picture to try and hide the fact that it's AI to lose the metadata. It doesn't work. Even cropping the image or taking a screenshot of it, our tools can now still determine whether that piece of content is AI generated, which helps give that user that transparency. And moreover, we made that technology open source, so that can be used by other companies as well. So I think the use of AI on that, like, is it a good thing or a bad thing? I think the use of AI is a good thing. It can help people create good content. It can help people touch up the images. It can help small businesses do things that they can't do. If you're a business with 2 employees and you want to generate that kind of content that gives you that engagement, actually having an AI tool to support you doing that is a fantastic thing. But equally, what we don't want is harmful content generated by AI. And our existing policies are there and robust enough to address that.
Absolutely. Moataz, every brand nowadays is trying to sound authentic online, and with AI now, it's very easy than ever to create endless content. So now I'm asking this question actually as a business owner. Do you feel how, as a company that now manages brands, marketing, social media accounts, do you make sure that you stay relevant to those brands that you manage? Or do you fear that AI might replace agencies one day?
Okay, so I'll add something to what Mehdi said about what's Facebook's stance on AI content. I'll be a little bit cheeky. So what we found out while managing ads on Meta in specific, that if it is AI generated to a certain degree, so more than 50% of the image or video is AI generated, it caps its reach. Okay? And I think they have a very good reason for that, because at a certain point in time, I think it was 80% of all advertising content on Meta was AI generated, and it became a duplicate of each other. So it was very hard to differentiate between each piece of content. And when they had that policy out and they actually talked to us about it, a lot of the people that were running content that is AI generated mindlessly, so that was actually hurting the brands they were managing, because losing their identity, got turned down a lot. So the quality of content that was available on the platform later on was much better for the audience, and then you had more audience engaging with it properly. So sometimes, I guess it's right for the platform to intervene and says, this is enough, this is too much, you're actually hurting the content creators and the audience, and as well the brand. From our engagement with brands, because of their shallow understanding mostly of AI and their overestimation of its powers because of everything they see online, they think it's easier to produce authentic content en masse, which becomes very disturbing for our conversations with them, because they keep saying, why don't you do that with AI? Some of them are willing to get educated on the process. So why certain brands will actually push your ads down if you have a certain degree of content that is purely AI generated, although it is on brand. And others are kind of hot-headed about it, no, I want more content, irrespective of how it's being produced. So AI is not really the issue, it's more of the understanding of the tools, their true capabilities. Just like you were saying, a lot of people think it is a superpower, but it has certain limitations, and it has certain bandwidths that if you try to push it too hard, it will actually hurt the brand itself, because it comes off as very unauthentic, and the amount of content you're pushing out is not consumable, right? Because you have all brands are on multiple platforms. So if you're producing massive amounts of content mindlessly without actually following through the actual proper journeys of these users, you end up bombarding them with your messaging, and they end up, just like Mehdi was saying, they just turn you off. So if you go into Instagram, click those 3 buttons, you can say, I don't want to see this brand ever again. And if someone clicks on that, you're out. No matter what you do later on, you never come back on their feed. And it's reported, so we can see how many people actually chose to not see that brand, and we can report it back to the brand owner themselves.
In your opinion, in the social media space, what is the most strategic way to use AI?
Okay, so you have steps to generate content. There is the planning phase. You can use AI there in the discovery and the research. There's the strategizing phase where you come up with the audiences. You want to understand more about them. You want to enrich their data. You can use AI tools there. It's amazing. And Meta just released an MCP with the ads. So you now have first-hand data to your own consumer behavior, where the MCP of Meta actually gives it to the advertiser and tells them that's your audience, that's their behavior. This is how you can actually go target them properly without any agency trying to sell you on anything that's not right. So all of that you can use AI for. And then when you're coming to, for us as an agency, when you're coming to draft or storyboard ideas, we can use AI for that as well. So all of this speeds up the process 10 or 11 times. But my continuous recommendation is, when we're creating the content itself, human created and generated content, the creativity part, just like someone was saying earlier, you feel there is some sort of soul to the content, versus it's very dead, it's very well done, but there's no soul to the content itself. I don't know if anyone felt that, but it's soulless. When you have a human actually doing the content with the creative idea and working on it, you feel there is life. And and when you look at the numbers, even for engagement rates, click-throughs, all of these, the metrics that they really care about, you'll find that's extremely different.
Absolutely, absolutely. Abbas, or actually this as well would be a question for all panelists. if trust now becomes the world's most valuable digital currency, who has the biggest responsibility for protecting it? Is it platforms, creators, brands, governments, or the users?
I think it's all stakeholders. You cannot just put it on the platform. You cannot put it just on the governments. I think we're in a space where technology has outpaced law, or the lawmaker basically. So you could say a Meta, a Google, an OpenAI, Anthropic, whoever in these companies maybe have more oversight or have more power. But at the end of the day, it's also a question of how users and how much users are willing to give up data and input to these tools, because in a way they make your life easier, right? So I think every stakeholder has a role to play. I wouldn't say one has a bigger role. It's just, of course, tech giants with billions of dollars, research, etc., data, probably have maybe a bigger stake because that's their business, and probably they have also more lever, because they sit on top of that food chain, in a way. But users also, believe it or not, at mass can do things if they come together in a certain way. Governments have to put in the right policies, create forums like these, in a way where have the right people speak together, open up opportunities, incentivize the companies and the stakeholders in the right ways. So I think all of them have to be engaged in an orchestrated way for the better. In general, as much as AI has made things easier, it's also made it easier to do things in a wrong way. But that's a choice. It's like anything else, like weapons, like whatever you deal with. It really depends on what kind of value system you have, and I think it's just a matter that all stakeholders feel and see the responsibility there.
And you mentioned data. What did you mean when you say users should share more data?
I didn't say they should share more data. I think they should decide on what they want to do with their data. Meaning, AI is very helpful, but you have decided how much data you want to, give it as an input to give you a certain output, and that's a personal decision, That's what I meant by that.
And it's a big debate, actually, I believe, even between users and platforms, whether you should share your data or not. But I do believe it's a personal decision at the end of the day. If you're willing to share your data, there's a cost and there's a benefit.
To be fair, it's also a kind of a prisoner's dilemma. If you are not going to use, everybody here in the room is using some LLM at least, right? Everybody here has any AI assistant account. So it depends on how much data you're putting there, how you're training it and giving it access to how you think, what kind of outputs you want. These are all personal decisions, but at the end of the day, if you don't do that, you're going to be outpaced by your colleague or by your competitor because they're using those tools which make them do more with less or faster. So at the end of the day, definitely consumers, as much as they do have a personal choice, but also depends on the kind of world they live in. How commercial is it? How much their life is driven by that decision. So it's tricky, to be fair.
Mehdi, what do you think?
So on the first part of that question about the trust and what's at stake, I'm going to copy Abbas's answer here. Is everybody needs to be involved. It's definitely multifaceted, but I would say as a platform, we have a really special incentive to make sure that we get the trust element right. Because if people do not feel safe using our platforms, then they disengage, and that's not good for us. So because of that, Meta, for example, and I'm sure the tech companies do the same, we spend billions of dollars on that trust and safety piece to make sure that we address the issue of trust and safety, of digital trust, and address it as best as we can. But there is also a role for, like I said, for society, for educators, for parents, for the users themselves. It needs to be a whole package of involvement to ensure that we achieve that element of trust.
And speaking about users trusting platforms, there's usually a lot of talk on how the algorithm works, and maybe it favors some over others. Like some people say that, don't know if it's true or not. So how does Meta actually ensure it maintains that trust with their creators, with the brands, that at the end of the day, yes, the algorithm is fair to everyone?
So it's a complex question, and there is, it's like, what do you define as fair? The algorithm in itself will, like I said, it will give you the kind of content that you engage with. It's supposed to be personalized to you as the individual. So I can't comment on fairness, or maybe we need to expand a little bit more about what we mean by that. But ultimately, what we want is a platform that is adds value to all the users, whether it will be engaging in entertaining content, engaging with businesses, connecting with friends and family. It needs to serve a purpose for people to want to continue coming back day in, day out.
Thank you. Moataz, what do you think?
Okay, I'll play the devil's advocate, just not to repeat. I agree with what they said, but I'll look at it from a very pragmatic point of view. So I remember an internet where we had 19 search engines, and I guess they both remember that, and none of them gave us the answers we were looking for. So we had to go through 4 or 5 search engines to actually get a single search correct. And even then, you had to compile stuff. Then Google comes out with this new algorithm that actually gave you the right answer in a fraction of a second instantly. And it automatically killed everyone else. Why? Because users are always looking for what's in it for me right now. So if I'm taking that and flipping it to the other side, who is the person or who is the entity that benefits the most if they deliver that? It's the platform, right? So if you are benefiting the most, then you should be the most responsible entity out there that is able to protect your own benefit. So just like Mehdi was saying, and they're doing amazing job at providing tools. And I'm not saying that they become Big Brother. I'm not saying that they intervene with the conversations, but the stuff that Meta is doing with the tagging tools that users have, flipping the algorithm and deciding what is on and what is on, all of this was not there before. And these are things you learn as you go along. No one can preempt this. Up to, I mean, we remember a very certain case where a certain presidential election was rigged because someone abused the algorithm at Meta on scale by abusing the algorithm. They did not alter the algorithm. They just understood how it worked. They decided to put people in certain silos based on their political views and then drive that silo to go vote for a certain candidate, right? And then all of this is user behavior that no one thought of monitoring because it was never there. That's the human element that Abbas is talking about. But at the end of the day, who has control over all of this data? Who can look at all of this data? Who can monitor that abuse? It's the platform again. So to me, it starts with the platform. And I guess that's why Mehdi is here and why they have a policy chief, right? Because of that. All of this is driven by that because they lead that into the community where it's their role to provide these tools. It's their role to call out anyone that is abusing their system, just like they did. They lost, I think, $4 or $5 billion during that election because they had to shut down the developer program for a month and a half. They shut everyone out because they couldn't understand what was going on. Let's shut it all down. And then that's a very responsible thing to do, by the way, because this is how you mitigate risk. So I think it's the platform.
Absolutely. And actually, Mehdi, I have a question which is out of a box a little bit, since we all know how important AI is nowadays. How is Meta as a platform staying ahead of the AI curve?
Very, very good question. I think what a lot of people don't realize is Meta's not new to the AI game. Actually, we've been working on AI for over a decade. First with what was called the Facebook AI research team, the FAIR team, who created or researched and then released some of the very tools that all the AI around the world are being built on, PyTorch being one of them. And AI itself powers the very engines that protect our users online. So when you have 3.5 billion people using your platform, that's billions of pieces of content that are being produced and posted online every single day. It is impossible to get humans to look at every single one. So you have to have a level of AI, a level of automation to be able to remove that harmful content, before anyone even sees it, and that's where the majority of our enforcement is. Over 95% is in that space where it doesn't even get posted online, gets removed straight away, or very, very quickly thereafter. But then beyond that, there's the user-facing AI elements. So, then there's the AI element that powers what we call the discovery engine. So it's the content you see, the algorithm that everyone refers to. And then there's two strands of AI, which is very, very important. The first is Meta AI, which is our equivalent of the user-facing AI tool, like ChatGPT, like Claude. The difference between us and some of the competitors is our AI is for free. And it means if you are a farmer in Egypt or a billionaire in Silicon Valley, you are using the exact same tool. And that democratizes access to AI, which I think is incredibly important, so that we talk about economic empowerment or economic benefit of this new technology. Keeping it free for users is a really, really important aspect of that. And so Meta AI is available on all the family of apps that we have, and people can access it straight away. The other part of it is what we've done, particularly over the last couple of years, which is through our open source large language model, Llama. And so what we've done is developed a large language model and made it available to the public to use. It's been downloaded over 1.2 billion times already. It means if you are a developer with limited access to capital, you can still access some of the most advanced. I know there are more advanced models now, but some of the most advanced models of their time, and train it on your data and develop your own app, and be able to start up a new AI-based economy based on this open source model. Actually, last year we ran a competition called the Llama Design Drive, where we went across Africa, Middle East, and Turkey, Turkey to encourage people to develop using Llama and put their apps out there. And the winner was from Egypt, a company called Urology, who developed a radiology app using Llama. So with that open source model, you developed a tool that now provides medical access or radiology imaging software to the most underserved communities across the world. So where they were not being able to have their X-rays or CT scans or whatever being evaluated because of this Egyptian-made app built on Meta technologies, and that's now opened up healthcare to potentially millions of people that would have been underserved otherwise. So we have the developer part of AI. So we have the AI that runs our platform. We have the developer part of AI where people can run on the open source tools that we release. And then we have the consumer-facing part of it, Meta AI, where people can engage with it. On the consumer side, there's like a dotted line out, which is the AI tools for businesses. Not that we're going to put agencies out of business, but the AI tools available to small business. So if you are a small business, you now can use our SMB tools to engage 24/7 in multiple languages to help grow your businesses with the kind of limited resources that you have. And it's incredible. So support the consumer, support the SMBs, which is the economic engine for most countries, and then support the developer ecosystem. I think those are the three components that are very, very important.
And how about when it comes to creators on the platform?
Absolutely. So creators are, like we discussed all throughout the panel, they're an incredibly important part of the platform. We have tools that can, Abbas said something really, really important about community. A lot of creators develop communities around them, and people want to, they wait for their favorite creator to post something and they want to engage with it. Now, if you've gone from a couple of thousand followers, maybe you can still jump into the comments and comment back on every single one and have that intimate engagement with your community. But if you're all of a sudden at 100,000 followers, 1 million followers, 10 million followers, you need something else to step in there to be able to continue that engagement with your community. So we have something called AI Studio, which means that you can go and train it on your tone, on your likeness, etc. And you can have the AI support your engagements with your community. So there are tools that we're rolling out that also support the creators and support the communities that they serve and engage with to keep a engaged ecosystem.
Thank you. Abbas, I would actually like to ask you the same question as an owner of a media group. As we all know, AI is penetrating almost all industries in the world. How do you make sure that you stay ahead of the AI curve as well? Or maybe you have a different stance on AI?
So we've been venturing in companies. I know you know that. So we're looking at different investments in like some AI startups. So that's one angle. So investment is a track. Another track is AI transformation, which is, I love now that AI is basically the, the substitute word for technology. So basically, but yeah, we have like an AI transformation conversation going on, which we're trying to do across the different businesses we're in. And that part includes many things, includes revisiting processes, developing them, integrating whether LLMs or assistants or whatever it is, workflows that, you know, do that for us and make us, you know, do more with less. The third part is actually looking into new business models that are entirely built on AI. So we have one of the biggest production houses in Egypt right now that does ads for clients and so on, but we're also now venturing into creating an AI production house, for example, to build content by using AI tools. And we're doing the same across the board in our different businesses. So what we do is, I think we're one of the lucky ones. We learned this a long time ago. I said that this many times. I think I'm a very lazy guy. I didn't think much when I was building DigiSay because I was saying, okay, I'm working with Google, I'm working with Meta. These guys spent a lot of money on R&D. They know where this industry is going. So if you become a partner of these companies, you actually enjoy the fact that they kind of guide your way on where to go next. So definitely, we also enjoy a little bit of that where we get early access on partnership programs, on new initiatives that tell you already in a way how to stay ahead of the curve. So that's also, I know it's a lazy, lame answer, but it's factual, and I don't want to tell you I'm the smartest guy in the room. But if you have a chance to speak to a Mehdi or to speak to I don't know, a Taher Amin at YouTube or whoever, like you already get the chance to know a lot about how to stay ahead of the curve. That's also a pillar, you know, being good friends with the right crowd, if I can simplify it for the room. And other than that, it's just basically, believe it or not, I listen to my kids. I have a 14 and 10-year-old girls, and if you see what kind of music they like, what kind of content they watch, what kind of brands they're looking into, it kind of also helps you guide where you should, you know, steer the vehicle in a way.
Amazing. And to close, I wanted to ask a question for all of you. If you could change one thing about the internet in the next decade to help people actually see more clearly online, what would it be? Can start with Moataz.
Add a user-generated trust score on each post. So think of what's the app, Yelp, but for trusting people.
If I could wave a magic wand, you just sort of take away all the issues that create that harm. I mean, if you could remove the scams, if you could remove the harmful websites, if you could remove the criminal activity, if you can get all of those extracted from the internet, it's a very beautiful, powerful tool that has transformed the lives of millions and billions of people even. So I think, yeah, if there was that magic wand that I could wave, that would be it, to make it a completely safe space for everyone.
I would reward authentic content creators better than none, financially speaking, even with actual awards.
Sorry to cut you off. What's authentic?
Meaning people that build trust, the kind of trust we've been talking about, like building a community, being authentic about the content, not using AI, but using AI in a meaningful way. So you basically reward those that are creating a better environment for the community, for our children. Reward even content that is meaningful and purposeful, better than other. I think this would create a better, incentive for people to go and build meaningful stuff, whether it's new ideas for online businesses or for content. That's something I would like to do.
Amazing. Thank you very much, everyone, for being with us here today, and thank you very much, Abbas, Mehdi, Moataz. Round of applause. Thank you.